I feel something emerging inside me, an urgent feeling that I can't contain. It is as if it needs to be shared, as if it is meant to touch your spirit. Can you feel? There is a change in the air, like the distant omen of an approaching storm. But this is not just any storm. We are on the verge of a divine acceleration. Time itself bends and stretches under command, as prophesied by Amos centuries ago. He said, "Behold, the days come." And indeed, those days have come. The old words echo with new force, brought back to life by my breath. Imagine a field where the seeds are still being planted, but the harvest is already ripe and ready. The farmer and reaper work together, their efforts overlapping, creating a beautiful collision of seasons. Blink, and you may miss the moment. The first plants break through the ground, running towards the sun with a supernatural rush. The green stems swell, fed by invisible hands, until the golden spikes bow before the farmer, who has barely had time to wipe the sweat from his forehead. This is the rhythm of the season you are entering, a run of unbridled prayers answered, dreams fulfilled, blessings upon blessings, one after another, so fast you will barely have time to breathe between them. You will see the hills dripping with sweet wine of divine favor, and arid lands bloom in vibrant colors. Supply rivers will flow where before there were only stagnant puddles. The transformation will be so rapid and comprehensive that the memory of hard times will disappear like a forgotten dream. But in the midst of this emotion, there is a loving warning. Do not rush so much into the future that you neglect the present. Every second that passes brings with it opportunities, disguised gifts that we often ignore in our haste. You have prayed for a spiritual outpouring, but are you really prepared for what that implies? Are you ready for a sacred interruption? A divine movement that will compress time and make cycles seem insignificant? The wait will be replaced by a harvest as fast as lightning. Prepare, for there will be hardly time to catch your breath between the fulfillment of one promise and the birth of another. And even this fast pace will seem slow compared to what is coming. I am taking you deeper, to a place where my glory dissolves all delay. Time will bend and bend before you, and moments will eclipse decades. For when you enter my presence, you will enter eternity. And eternity, with its brightness, obscures time. Do not fear. Like the light that swallows darkness and life that devours death, my eternal love will consume any shadow of doubt that time may cast upon you. The clock will no longer be your master, nor the calendar your jailer. You will move in the rhythm of my heart, guided by my voice. And now, I invite you to enter into this flow, to abandon familiar ways of thinking and embrace the exciting dance of faith, which demands a profound transformation in your perspective. You must learn to see with eyes that see beyond time, to think with a mind that embraces eternity, and to love with an eternal heart. It is not a journey for the weak, but for those who are willing to surrender completely to my purposes. There will be times when the speed of all this will leave you breathless, when you will feel on the edge of the unknown, with no guarantees in sight. But trust, for my hand will never forsake you. My grace is the net that sustains you. I am taking you to a deeper level of harmony, where acceleration is not to overwhelm you, but to free you from the currents of a lesser life. So fix your eyes on me, and set aside your agendas, your carefully crafted plans. I'm doing something new, and it won't fit into the old expectations. This is the moment of suddenly, the season of the unexpected. Prepare for the whirlwind, but do not fear, for in the center of the storm you will find your anchor and refuge. When you surrender to my embrace, you will discover a peace that surpasses any understanding and a joy that no circumstance can steal. The world will look at you and be amazed, without understanding the speed of your transformation. They will see a life that defies logic, a story that breaks molds, and they will be hungry to know the secret of the source of their strength. This secret, my son, is simple. You connected with eternity. You learn to walk in harmony with the Creator of time. When you remain in me, all things are possible. No dream is too great. No miracle is unattainable. The impossible becomes everyday, and the extraordinary becomes the new norm. So run with me in the rhythm of the divine. Every moment will be like a blank page, ready to be written with the opportunities that arise around you. And so, the anxiety for the future will lose its strength. The future, which before seemed a distant promise, now walks beside you, ready to be shaped. You will see that you do not need to run after what is already destined to happen. On the contrary, you will see the fruits of your work flourishing in perfect synchrony with the present moment. This transformation will not be something that comes with big noises or dramatic changes visible to the naked eye. On the contrary, many of these changes will start from within, like a silent seed germinating in the ground. It is in the silence of the soul, in the calm of the spirit, that you will perceive the strength of this divine acceleration. And when you least expect it, you will be surrounded by a life full of achievements, blessings that you never even imagined were possible. When the first signs of this new time are manifested, do not be afraid. Changes may seem too fast, overwhelming even, but remember that you are not alone in this journey. Every step you take will be guided by a greater force, and even in the moments when you feel that you are losing control, an invisible hand will be there to hold you, to keep you firm. A sense of insecurity may come, especially when the path seems uncertain, but confidence in something greater will be your foundation. Knowing that you are part of a divine plan, something that goes far beyond what your eyes can see, will bring you an indescribable peace. The promises that were made in the past are now beginning to take shape. Those prayers that for so long seemed to be unanswered are now returning as a distant echo, but this time accompanied by tangible achievements. You will see doors open where there were previously impassable walls. What seemed impossible to achieve now presents itself before you as a carefully prepared gift, waiting only for you to accept it. And by accepting it, you will realize that nothing was in vain. Neither the difficulties, nor the expectations, nor the moments of doubt. This acceleration, however, brings with it a call for you to also accelerate your ability to recognize and embrace what is truly important. Time is an illusion when you are in tune with eternity. However, there are hidden treasures in the now that cannot be overlooked. You are invited to live every second with a renewed attention, to perceive the small blessings that often go unnoticed. It's easy to be absorbed in the rush of everyday life, but when you stop to breathe and connect with the present, you find that there is a depth in every moment, a lesson in every detail. And as this spiritual acceleration progresses, you will also perceive a transformation in your relationships. There will be a deeper connection with those around you. Understanding time and purpose makes you appreciate even more the bonds you have built throughout your life. Interactions that once seemed superficial or fleeting now gain a new meaning. Acceleration does not mean just speed. It means intensity. Every conversation, every gesture, every encounter will be charged with a greater purpose. This journey of transformation will not only be about what you receive, but also about what you share. What blooms in you will naturally overflow to others. Your growth, blessings, and light are not just for yourself. There is an energy in motion, something that flows from you and touches everyone around you. And that's part of the bigger plan. You are a channel for change, a key piece in the great puzzle of life. Your progress inspires others, and so the cycle continues, like a wave that expands infinitely. In time, you will begin to realize that the true strength is in delivery. It is not about the control you exercise, but about the confidence you place in the process. Surrender is not weakness, but wisdom. When you let go of the weight of rigid expectations and allow things to flow as they should, something extraordinary happens. Life, like a river, follows its natural course, and you are carried by this current, not in fear, but with the certainty that you are being led to where it should be. The resistances disappear, and the way ahead becomes clearer, lighter. With every step you take, you realize that the anxiety for the future dissolves. There is no more hurry, because now you understand that time is not your enemy, but your ally. What once seemed distant is now within reach, and this gives you a serenity that few know. It is not a calm that comes from the absence of challenges, but rather from the unwavering confidence that everything is going exactly as it should. And when you look back, you will see how far you have come. The barriers that once seemed insurmountable now seem small in front of what you have achieved. The journey that at times seemed heavy, full of uncertainties, now makes sense. Every step, every stumbling block, every victory was an essential part of the path that brought you here. And you will realize that even in the moments of greatest doubt, you have never been alone. As you walk through this new phase of your life, you will realize that your dreams, however great they may seem, are completely possible. What the world labels as impossible, you begin to see as just a new possibility waiting to be realized. The extraordinary becomes the new norm, and what once seemed inaccessible is now the next natural step. There will be days when all this will seem almost surreal, as if you are living at a pace so fast that you can barely keep up. But in these moments, remember that this acceleration is not to overwhelm you, but to free you. Free yourself from the constraints of the past, the limitations that you or others have placed on you. It is a call to live a greater, fuller life, more connected with the divine purpose. So, by giving yourself to this new dance, allow yourself to flow. Open yourself to the unknown, knowing that even when you don't see the next step, it's already prepared. Life, with all its complexity and beauty, is unfolding before you like a carpet of infinite possibilities. And as you walk this path, in tune with the heartbeat of the universe, you will realize that there are no limits to what can be achieved. The impossible is just a word that, from now on, will lose all meaning. Because when you connect with eternity, you discover that all dreams, no matter how great, are within your reach. There are no barriers that cannot be broken down, nor miracles that cannot happen. Life, in its essence, is made of possibilities. And now, you are ready to live them fully, in every moment, in every step, in the rhythm of the divine. The hours that once passed so slowly, charged with worries and pressures, now flow smoothly. You feel more present, more alive every second. And that's not just a feeling, it's a new reality unfolding around you. Eternity infiltrates the now, bringing with it a new way of living, lighter and full of purpose. This new time is not only about speed. Divine acceleration is not about running desperately, trying to reach something that always seems out of reach. No, this acceleration is about living in fullness. It's about the expansion of your soul. You start to see the world through a new lens, a lens of infinite possibilities, where every moment has the potential to be transformative. What was once common now seems sacred, for everything around it is imbued with a greater purpose. Nothing is insignificant. This profound change of perspective also begins to affect how you deal with life's difficulties. The struggles that once seemed so oppressive are now seen as opportunities for growth. The pain that, in other times, could have paralyzed you, now turns into a lesson, a springboard for something greater. The storms you face no longer frighten you. Instead, you face them with confidence that in the eye of the storm you will always find peace. This peace is not only a temporary consolation, but a permanent certainty that regardless of the circumstances, you are on the right path. And so this divine acceleration spreads to all aspects of your life. Your relationships, which before might seem fragile or unbalanced, begin to gain a new depth. You start connecting with people in a more authentic, truer way. The conversations that were once superficial now touch the essence of being. There is a mutual understanding, an empathy that grows as you allow yourself to be more vulnerable, more open to the flow of life. You realize that you are more connected with others not by chance, but because everything around you is interconnected, being part of the same divine plan. This transformation is also reflected in your daily actions. Tasks that once seemed mundane now have a special shine. You begin to see beauty in the simple act of breathing, walking, observing the world around you. Each movement is imbued with intention, as if it were aligned with a higher purpose. The little things gain a new value, a smile given, an incentive word offered, even the silence shared with someone. Everything has meaning, and you feel this depth in every gesture. Over time, you realize that this acceleration is not only a force acting on you, but something that you can also influence. You begin to understand that you are co-creating this divine reality, that your choices and intentions have a fundamental role in this process. It is not about passively waiting for the divine to do its part, but about actively entering into this dance, contributing with your energy, your love, your faith. And by doing so, you feel that you are actually living, not just existing. There is a vitality that pulsates within you, as if every cell of your body is vibrating in tune with the cosmos. This understanding brings a new responsibility. Divine acceleration is not a road free of challenges. It requires courage. It requires you to abandon old patterns of thought, old ways of acting. Requires you to leave behind what no longer serves you, even if it is uncomfortable at first. Often you will be faced with difficult choices, situations that will test your faith, but it is in these moments that true growth occurs. You will be challenged to trust, to believe that even when things seem uncertain, there is a greater plan in action. It is in this confidence that you find true freedom. You no longer need to control everything around you, no longer need to have all the answers. This freedom comes from surrender to the natural flow of life. When you surrender, you are not giving up. On the contrary, you are allowing something greater to lead you. And surprisingly, it is in this abandonment that you discover your strength. Life becomes less about fighting and more about flowing with what's happening, knowing you are exactly where you need to be. With this new perspective, your dreams that once seemed so distant or impossible begin to become more accessible. They cease to be idealized visions of an uncertain future and become real possibilities, ready to be realized. And as you progress on this journey, these dreams multiply. What was once an isolated desire now unfolds into an expansive vision of infinite possibilities. You begin to dream not only for yourself, but for the world around you. Your heart opens to new ideas, new ways of being and creating. In this space of growth and acceleration, you begin to notice how your choices impact the collective. The changes that occur within you reverberate in the external world, creating waves of transformation that touch everyone around you. The seeds you plant, the words you say, the gestures you offer, all contribute to the whole. And suddenly you realize that you are part of something much larger, that your existence has a profound impact, even if you can't see the results immediately. And then comes the final understanding. You have been called to live an extraordinary life, a life that transcends the limitations imposed by material reality. He was called to see beyond, to feel beyond, to be beyond what he ever imagined possible. You have been called to participate in a divine movement, a cosmic dance that goes far beyond what the eyes can see or the intellect can comprehend. This journey that began with an acceleration now becomes a never-ending journey, a constant discovery of new depths within oneself and the universe. You realize that there will never be an end point, because the growth is continuous, the evolution is eternal. Every step you take takes you to new heights, to new revelations, to new ways of expressing the love, compassion, and joy that you have found on this path. And so you run to the rhythm of the divine, with a light heart and firm feet on the ground, knowing that every moment is an opportunity to further expand your understanding of what it means to live fully. You embrace the unknown with courage, knowing that in every turn there is a new lesson, a new blessing, a new miracle waiting to be revealed. And as you go, you realize that the impossible really does not exist. Everything is possible when you walk in harmony with the eternal flow of creation. This is the invitation you receive now, to live a life that goes beyond the limits of the ordinary, embrace the extraordinary, and allow the divine to lead your steps. This is the call to live without fear, to trust fully, and to be who you were meant to be. In doing so, you will discover that life is a gift that, when lived in tune with eternity, transforms everything around you into pure beauty, pure grace, pure love. Not only has his perception of time and space changed, but his own identity is expanding. The I you knew, limited by fears and uncertainties, begins to gradually dissolve, revealing a more authentic and connected version of yourself. This new identity is not built on the same foundations as before. It does not depend on titles, labels, or the expectations of others. On the contrary, it is born of a deeper essence, an essence that has always been there, waiting to be fully recognized. With this new awareness of who you really are comes an extraordinary freedom. Freedom to be, to exist in an authentic way, without the ties that once held you. Concerns about what others think, or how you should be or act, begin to disappear. Instead, you are moved by an inner force that guides you toward what really matters. There is an unshakable confidence in its own truth, because this truth is no longer subject to the fluctuations of the external world. It comes from within, from a source that is unchanging, eternal. This awakening to your true identity is not an instant process. It occurs gradually, like a flower that blooms over time. At first, there may be some resistance. After all, you have spent years, perhaps decades, living under the ideas and expectations that were imposed by others or by yourself. But as this new reality settles in, you realize that true joy comes from living according to your essence, not from trying to fit into predetermined patterns. This discovery brings with it a lightness, as if a great weight was taken from your shoulders. You can finally breathe freely. And with this new freedom, a deep sense of gratitude arises. Gratitude for everything you have experienced so far, even the moments of pain and doubt, because each of them was necessary to take you to this point of transformation. What you once saw as obstacles, now see as precious lessons that shaped your journey. Every challenge you've overcome, every tear shed, every sleepless night, all this was part of the process of stoning, removing the layers that hid the precious jewel you always were. Now, this jewel shines more intensely than ever. In this new state of being, you begin to understand that your journey is not isolated. Your awakening impacts not only you but everyone around you. Every step you take toward your truth reverberates in the collective. Your insights, your internal changes, your achievements, all this generates waves of transformation that touch other lives, even if you do not realize it. And thus you become a beacon to others, illuminating the way for those who also seek this deep connection with the divine. It is not something you force or impose. It happens naturally as you live in harmony with your essence. The acceleration you experience, therefore, is not only a personal experience. It is part of a larger movement, something that is happening on a global and cosmic scale. You are part of an awakening cycle that is spreading throughout the world, bringing more light and awareness to every corner of the earth. And in recognizing that, you feel a loving responsibility to continue expanding this energy, to continue being an agent of change. But this responsibility is not heavy or oppressive. It is, in fact, a joy, a privilege. You understand that you are being called to be a channel of something much greater than yourself. This new understanding leads you to act in different ways. What could have been ego-driven before, whether in work, relationships, or personal goals, is now driven by a higher intention. You are no longer seeking external recognition or validation. Your impulse now is to serve, share, contribute to the greater good. Your actions become reflections of your connection with the divine. And the amazing thing about it is that, by focusing on serving, sharing the light you have found, you get even more in return. Abundance flows into your life in ways you never imagined. The abundance you experience is not only material, although it can also be manifested in this way. It is an abundance of spirit, peace, and joy. You realize that the true wealth is not in the goods you own, but in the quality of your inner life. This inner richness overflows into all areas of your life. Your relationships become more harmonious, your work gains more purpose, and even the small pleasures of life become more vibrant and meaningful. As you continue to walk this journey of expansion and acceleration, something fascinating begins to happen. Synchronicities become more frequent. You begin to notice how the universe is constantly communicating with you, sending out signals and hints that it is on the right path. People, opportunities, and circumstances that once seemed distant or out of reach now appear before you with surprising fluidity. It is as if the cosmos itself is conspiring to support you. And indeed, it is. When you are in tune with the divine, the entire universe responds in sync, aligning events so that you experience maximum growth and fulfillment. At this point, you understand that you are not alone. You have never been. There was always a presence, a force guiding your steps, even in the moments when you felt lost or without direction. Now, this presence becomes more clear and tangible. You may call it divine, energy, universal love. The name is less important than the experience of knowing for sure that you are part and parcel of something much greater than your individuality. This understanding brings a deep peace, a confidence that everything is always working in your favor, even when things don't go exactly as you planned. And so you follow, no longer the need to control every aspect of your life because you have learned to trust. Trust the process, trust the flow, trust the wisdom that moves events in a way that human intellect cannot fully comprehend. This confidence is not a passive resignation, but an active and courageous surrender. It is the recognition that, by letting go of control, you align with the natural rhythm of the universe, which always works for the greater good. With this surrender, you discover that life, in its essence, is much simpler than it seemed. There is no need to complicate things with excessive worries, irrational fears, or overly calculated plans. Life flows, and you learn to flow with it. What is yours will inevitably come to you, and what is not will dissipate without effort. The simplicity of this truth is liberating. It gives you permission to live with more lightness, more spontaneity, more joy. Now, you are no longer stuck with expectations of what should be or do. You are free to explore, to create, to venture on new paths. Each new day is an opportunity to experience more of the fullness of life, to learn something new, to grow in ways you may never have imagined. And as you progress on this journey of divine acceleration, you realize that there are no limits, just an infinite horizon of possibilities waiting to be discovered. You begin to realize that the process is also a journey of healing, not just a physical or emotional healing, but a complete healing encompassing all levels of your being. The acceleration you experience is not a frantic race, but a high-speed restoration of all that has been fragmented throughout your life. Parts of you that have been lost or left behind now come together in a harmonious integration, like pieces of a puzzle that finally fit together. This healing is largely a soul healing, often in the pursuit of fulfillment or in trying to survive the demands of the world. You have disconnected from essential parts of yourself. Perhaps you have set aside your dreams, neglected your intuition, or abandoned your deepest desires. But as you align with that divine flow, all of those parts start to come back. What once seemed lost, like old passions or forgotten talents, now reborn within you with a new energy. There is a sense of returning home, a home within yourself where you feel complete and at peace. And as this healing deepens, it not only impacts you individually, but also your relationships. The emotional wounds that used to separate you from others begin to dissolve. The anger, resentment, and hurt you carried now seem unnecessary, like burdens that you can finally let go. Forgiveness becomes a natural choice, not only for others but also for yourself. You realize that holding on to the pain of the past no longer serves your purpose. On the contrary, by releasing these pains, you create space for new experiences of love, compassion, and genuine connection. This healing and liberation process brings a mental clarity that you may never have experienced before. The incessant worries, negative thoughts, and cycles of anxiety that once dominated your mind begin to lose their strength. Instead, your mind becomes a space of tranquility where new ideas and creative solutions can easily arise. When you align with the rhythm of the divine, life is no longer a battle of constant internal struggle. Instead, everything begins to flow with a surprising naturalness. The answers you were looking for outside of yourself now begin to emerge from within, as if they are always there, just waiting for you to open up to hear them. This clarity also affects your choices. Before, you may have felt insecure or uncertain about your decisions, constantly wondering if you were on the right track. But now, with this new connection and clarity, you develop an unshakable inner confidence. It's not that you know exactly what the future will bring, but you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are being guided. Every step, even when it seems uncertain, is taken with the confidence that it is part of something greater. This confidence in yourself and the divine process transforms your life in a radical way. One of the greatest gifts of this journey is the discovery that true power does not come from strength or control, but from surrender. This surrender is not an abdication of responsibility, but an act of wisdom. When you surrender to the flow of the universe, you realize that there is a greater intelligence that coordinates everything. And that intelligence is not far away or outside of you. It's in you. It's part of who you are. By surrendering, you're actually connecting to that deep intelligence, allowing it to flow freely into your life. And it is in this act of letting go that you find your true power. This surrender opens doors to a new kind of wisdom. A wisdom that is not learned in books or passed on by words, but that arises from the very experience of living in harmony with the divine. You begin to realize that many of the answers you were looking for were not outside of you, but but always within, waiting to be revealed at the right time. And the more you trust, the more this wisdom is revealed. It manifests itself in moments of deep intuition, in a sense of knowing without knowing how or why. You begin to realize that this wisdom is in everything, in the small coincidences of everyday life, in casual conversations, in seemingly insignificant gestures. With this new perspective, you start to live more lightly. Life is no longer a series of challenges to be overcome and becomes a dance, where each movement has its purpose. There is a harmony between your intentions and the circumstances around you. You start to recognize beauty at all times, even in the most difficult, because now you understand that every experience, whether it is good or bad, is part of a greater process of growth and evolution. Acceleration also brings a new way of perceiving time. What before seemed scarce, as if there was always time for everything, now expands. You begin to realize that time is actually a mental creation, and when you are in harmony with the divine flow, everything fits into the right moment. There is enough time for everything that is important. There is no need to rush or live in constant urgency. When you are present in the moment, you realize that time is an illusion, and that the true value lies in how you use each instant. This change in the perception of time also impacts your dreams and goals. What once seemed distant or unattainable now becomes more tangible. You realize that by being aligned with the divine, your dreams are not just random desires but expressions of who you really are. They are parts of your path, manifesting in the form of desires and ambitions. And so the universe begins to work in partnership with you, bringing the opportunities, encounters, and resources necessary for these dreams to come true. With this new vision, you also start to value the process more than the end result. You understand that the journey is as important as the arrival, and that every step, however small, has its value. Life ceases to be a constant pursuit of goals and becomes a constant appreciation of the path. You walk with gratitude, recognizing that each experience, challenge, and blessing are essential for your evolution. Acceleration, then, is not just about what's happening around you, but mostly about what's happening inside you. As you transform yourself internally, the external world responds, reflecting this transformation. And the more you open yourself to this flow, the more you realize that life is abundant. There is no shortage of love, joy, opportunities. Everything you need is already available to you. Just open yourself to receive. This new state of being is not something you achieve and ready as a final destination. It is a continuous path, an endless dance between you and the divine. Every day, every moment, you have the opportunity to dive deeper into this connection, expand your awareness, and live more authentically. And as you do that, life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more aligned with what you were created to be. As you continue on this journey, you will discover that true acceleration is not just an increase in speed, but an expansion of consciousness. The more you open yourself to the divine, the more you realize that the only limit is the one you impose on yourself. And by removing these limits, you become unlimited, able to create, love, live in a way that defies all expectations and norms. You find that the extraordinary is actually your natural state. This purpose is not limited to a specific career, role, or function. It goes far beyond the material achievements or titles that the world usually values. Your true purpose reveals itself as an expression of your purest essence, a call to live fully from what you really are, not what they expect you to be. And this discovery brings a sense of accomplishment that transcends any external success. As you discover this purpose, you realize that it is not static. It evolves over time, just like you. What seemed important at a certain point in life may cease to be relevant as your consciousness expands. This perception brings with it a great freedom, because you realize that you are not stuck to a single path or definition of success. True purpose is fluid, moving according to the dance of life, and each stage of this journey has its value. So you learn to honor where you are now, knowing that it is part of a broader trajectory. This freedom of purpose also changes the way you see failure. What could previously be seen as a mistake, a failure, or a loss now becomes just a learning experience. Every fall is an opportunity to grow, and you realize that failure does not really exist. What exists are temporary deviations that guide you back to your most authentic path. The fear of error, which previously prevented you from acting, loses its power over you. After all, when you are aligned with the divine, there is no error that cannot be transformed into wisdom. Moreover, this journey of purpose is intertwined with the concept of service. You begin to realize that your existence is not isolated, and that your purpose is deeply connected with the impact you cause on others and the world. But this service is not a burden. On the contrary, it is a natural expression of your being, something that flows from you effortlessly. By living in alignment with your purpose, you automatically begin to contribute to the collective well-being because everything you do is imbued with intention, love, and truth. This change in the perspective of purpose makes you start to value small everyday actions more. A simple gesture, such as listening to someone carefully or offering a word of encouragement, can have a much greater impact than you might think. Every interaction, every choice, however small it may seem, is an opportunity to express your purpose and serve in a way that elevates not only you but also those around you. This awareness transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary, bringing a sense of reverence to everything you do. With this new way of living, you also realize that the true wealth is not in the accumulation of material goods, but in the deep connections that you cultivate. The value of life is now measured by the quality of relationships, the authenticity of interactions, and the joy of sharing meaningful moments with others. The desire to accumulate for oneself loses its strength, and instead a natural will arises to share, to give, to create something that benefits everyone. And almost magically, the more you give, the more you get. Abundance flows in a way that previously seemed impossible, but now it becomes a constant reality. This abundance is not only manifested in material terms, but in all areas of your life. You start to attract people, experiences, and opportunities that are in harmony with your purpose. It is as if the universe responds to its internal alignment, creating an energy field around it that attracts everything necessary for its growth and fulfillment. What once seemed difficult or out of reach now comes easily. And at this point, you understand that you don't have to fight or force things to happen. The flow of life takes you in the right direction at the right time. With this comes a deep sense of peace, a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, but is born from the certainty that you are in the right place, doing what is right at the right time. This state of peace does not mean absence of challenges, but a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you have everything you need inside to deal with any situation. This inner peace becomes an anchor, keeping you firm even when the storms of life arise. This confidence is also manifested in a new way of relating to the future. What could once cause anxiety or worry, the uncertainties, the plans that did not go as expected, the dreams that seemed distant, are now seen with other eyes. The future is no longer something to be feared or controlled, but a promise of infinite possibilities. You learn to live with openness and detachment, knowing that what is coming will always be better than you could plan or imagine. This does not mean that you abandon your dreams. It means that you deliver them to the divine flow, trusting that whatever is about to happen will happen at the perfect moment. Spiritual acceleration teaches you the art of being present. Although the future brings its promises, you understand that life can only be lived in the now. Every present moment is an opportunity to connect more deeply with the essence of what is real and true. You begin to realize that when fully present, even the simplest tasks become sacred. Life is revealed in its fullness in the here and now, and it is in this state of presence that you experience the greatest joy, the greatest gratitude, and the greatest love. This presence also teaches you to appreciate the journey itself, not just the destinations you aspire to achieve. Spiritual acceleration is not about getting faster to somewhere, but rather about living more fully at every step. You realize that the journey is the destination itself. Every experience, every encounter, every learning along the way is precious. And by focusing your attention on the present, you find that there is no rush. Everything happens at the right time, and the right time is always now. By living in this frequency, you also develop a new relationship with silence and quietness. What once seemed empty or uncomfortable now becomes a space of renewal and connection. In silence, you find answers that cannot be said in words. In stillness, you reconnect with the inner wisdom that has always been present, waiting patiently to be heard. This silence becomes a sacred space, where the divine communicates more clearly and where you can rest from all the demands of the outside world. And so, as you continue to walk this path of acceleration, you realize that there is no end to this expansion. Spiritual awakening is not a single event, but a continuous process of growth, learning, and transformation. Each day brings new revelations, new opportunities to connect more deeply with the divine and the essence of what it means to be truly human. You discover that the more you open yourself to this journey, the more the universe responds, bringing blessings and miracles that exceed any expectation. In the end, what you find is a life full of meaning, purpose, and joy. A life where the impossible becomes possible, where the extraordinary becomes everyday, and where every moment is an opportunity to experience the divine in action. And so you keep running, dancing, floating in the rhythm of the divine, knowing that this is the true essence of life, living in tune with eternity, in harmony with all that is and all that will be. Love, which could previously be limited to your personal interactions or the expectations you placed on others, now reveals itself as something much greater, something unlimited. It is no longer conditioned by what you receive, what you expect, or by external circumstances. You begin to understand that true love is an essential force, a state of being that exists within you, regardless of any external factor. This love, which comes from within, is unconditional. It is not based on reciprocity or exchange. It simply is. You find that when you are in tune with this inner source of love, everything around you begins to change. Interactions with people become deeper and truer. You no longer love because you expect something in return, but because love is your natural essence. This discovery brings an immense freedom. The anxiety to please, the concern with what others think, or the need for approval begin to disappear. You love simply for loving, because that is who you are, and because that love floods every aspect of your life. As this unconditional love grows within you, it also changes the way you see people and the world. The barriers that used to separate you from others begin to dissolve. You no longer see people as isolated individuals with their own interests and struggles. Instead, you begin to see the unity of everything. There is a deep connection between you and everyone around you, an invisible web of interdependence that unites all beings. What you do, think, and feel affects the whole, and the whole affects you. This understanding brings a new responsibility, but also deep compassion. This compassion, however, is not just a feeling of sympathy for those in need. It is much more comprehensive. It involves accepting people as they are, without judgment or expectations. You begin to realize that everyone, somehow, is on their own journey, facing their own inner battles. Even those who, on the outside, seem to be in opposition to you or what you believe are also on a path of growth. This perception opens up space for forgiveness and understanding. When you see yourself in others, you realize that there is no room for resentment, anger, or rancor. Everything is part of a great tapestry, and each thread, as different as it may seem, contributes to the final design. From this new vision, you also learn to love yourself more fully. This self-love is not selfish or narcissistic. It is a deep acceptance of who you are, with all your imperfections, flaws, and contradictions. You begin to see yourself with the same eyes of compassion that you see others. Realize that it is a work in construction, that every step, every mistake, every victory is part of its evolution. By accepting yourself fully, you free yourself from constant self-criticism, the need to be perfect or to meet unreal standards. Instead, you start to celebrate who you are, exactly how you are, and recognize the unique value that you bring to the world. This acceptance of yourself also takes you to a new level of self-knowledge. You begin to delve into the parts of yourself that you might have been afraid to explore, your shadows, your vulnerabilities, your fears. But instead of avoiding these parts, you welcome them. The understanding that everything, both light and shadow, is part of your journey of growth brings a sense of completeness. By integrating these parts, you become stronger and more whole. And paradoxically, by embracing your vulnerabilities, you become more invulnerable, because now there is no longer anything to hide. There is no more shame or guilt that can imprison you. Everything in you has a purpose, everything contributes to your evolution. With this new relationship with yourself, you also begin to attract experiences and people that reflect this state of being. What once seemed distant or unattainable now manifests itself with a surprising naturalness. The people who enter your life share the same energy of growth, acceptance, and love. You create connections that are based on authenticity, where each person is free to be who they are, without masks or pretensions. These relationships, both personal and professional, become sources of joy, inspiration, and mutual support. And you realize that when you are in tune with love, there is no competition or scarcity. There is only collaboration and abundance. This state of being also transforms your relationship with the natural world. You come to realize that you are not separated from nature, but are part of it. The same force that flows in you also flows in trees, rivers, animals, and heaven. This deep connection with the earth and its cycles awakens in you a new respect and admiration for life in all its forms. You start to appreciate more the silence, the moments of contemplation, the simple beauties of nature that before passed unnoticed in the rush of everyday life. The spiritual acceleration, paradoxically, brings a slowdown in your external life rhythm, allowing you to align more with the natural cycles of the universe. With this new sensitivity to the world around you, you also begin to develop a broader sense of purpose. You understand that your personal journey is closely linked to the well-being of the planet and all living beings. The harmony you cultivate within yourself begins to expand outward, affecting your daily choices. You start to worry more about the impact of your actions on the environment, on the collective. Your decisions, big or small, are beginning to be guided by a sense of responsibility not only with yourself but with humanity and the earth as a whole. This understanding transforms your life into a continuous act of care and gratitude. As you move through this journey, you realize that the concept of time begins to disappear even more. Eternity is not a distant place in the future. It is here, now, in every breath, in every heartbeat. You start to live more intensely, but not in the sense of haste or urgency. The intensity comes from the total presence in each moment, from the recognition that now is all that exists. The idea that there is no time to lose turns into there is all time in the world. You feel at peace with the natural rhythm of things, confident that everything is going perfectly even when the results are not yet visible. In this state of deep peace, you begin to experience a new form of freedom, a freedom that goes beyond the external circumstances or limitations imposed by society. This freedom is inner and arises from the fact that you are no longer stuck in the past or anxious for the future. You are no longer controlled by fears or the need for validation. You are free to be exactly who you are, to live authentically, to express your truth regardless of what others think or expect. And in this freedom, you find a joy that transcends any momentary pleasure. It is a joy that comes from the soul, a joy that is unshakable and eternal. This joy becomes your guide, leading you to create, express yourself, live expansively. You feel inspired to share this joy with the world, knowing that by doing so you are contributing to the elevation of collective consciousness. Your purpose is now clear: to live in harmony with the divine, express love in all its forms, and spread this light to everyone you meet. And in doing so, you realize that life, in its essence, is a continuous gift, an infinite dance between being and doing, between love and creation, between now and eternity. Every step you take on this journey is an invitation to go deeper, to discover new dimensions of yourself and the universe. Spiritual acceleration, then, is not a search for destiny but a celebration of the path. A path where every moment is an opportunity to live with more awareness, more love, more truth. And so you follow, without haste but with deep intention, in the rhythm of the divine, knowing that the true journey is always inward, and that this journey never ends, just expands infinitely. Every thought, action, and decision you make creates waves that reverberate in the universe. What once seemed an isolated existence, limited to its own experiences, now reveals itself as an intricate and interconnected tapestry where each thread plays a crucial role. You realize that you are, in fact, participating in a large field of collective energy where your intentions and vibrations affect the whole. This understanding brings a new responsibility, but also a sense of belonging. You are not only walking a personal path, but also playing an important role in the collective evolution of humanity. Every step you take toward your own spiritual growth also paves the way for others to do the same. You begin to understand that your individual awakening is at the same time a global awakening. This connection between the individual and the collective generates a deep sense of purpose and unity, further broadening your perception of its place in the universe. As your consciousness expands, you realize that the unconditional love that springs from within you begins to touch every aspect of your life. This love is not limited only to your interpersonal relationships, but begins to spread throughout all living beings, the planet, and the cosmos. There is a greater understanding of the sacredness of life in all its forms. The respect you develop for yourself and others extends also to nature, to the earth, which you now recognize as a living and conscious being. You begin to realize that the inner balance you achieve reflects on the external balance, affecting the environment around you and, by extension, the world. With this new perspective, you become more aware of your daily choices. From the small decisions, like what to consume and how to treat others, to the big ones, like where to invest your energy and time. Each choice begins to be made with the intention of preserving and nourishing life. Simplicity becomes an ally. You realize that many of the complexities of modern life are actually distractions from what really matters. By eliminating the superficial, you make room for what is essential: love, compassion, true connection, and service to others. Service, in this new context, is no longer seen as an obligation or a sacrifice. It comes naturally, as an extension of the love you feel for all beings. When you serve, you do so from a place of abundance, knowing that the energy you offer to the world will return to you in unexpected ways. This understanding dissolves the idea of scarcity. What once seemed limited, like time, money, or attention, now reveals itself as infinitely renewable. The universe flows in a continuous cycle of giving and receiving, and by aligning with this flow, you become a channel of abundance for yourself and others. As you live more and more in this state of expansion, you begin to realize that time also changes. Chronological time, which previously trapped you in a linear sequence of events, now seems malleable. Eternity creeps in every moment, and you realize that the present is the only tangible reality. The past and future still exist, but they no longer carry the weight that they used to. The past no longer defines who you are, and the future does not dictate your anxiety. Instead, both become parts of a cosmic dance where the now is the center of everything. It is in the present that you create, that you love, that you really live. This perception of time changes your relationship with your dreams and desires. You no longer run after them with the same urgency as before. Instead, you receive them as seeds, planted in your soul, and trust the process of growth. Know that everything has its time to bloom. Every dream you cultivate, every intention you place in the universe is in sync with a greater plan. And your only responsibility is to continue nurturing these seeds with love, patience, and faith. What has to be, will be, and it will be at the perfect moment. Meanwhile, the peace that settles within you begins to radiate outward. Your presence, once marked by restlessness or anxiety, now becomes a source of tranquility for others. People around you start noticing this change, even if it's subtle. They are attracted to this inner peace, to this new way of being. It is not something you impose, but something that naturally emanates from you. The peace you have cultivated within yourself becomes a beacon, guiding others on their own journeys, even silently. This silent influence is powerful. By living your truth authentically, you inspire others to do the same. There is no need for grand words or heroic gestures. The true transformation occurs in the small interactions, in the moments of total presence, in the acts of selfless kindness. Every smile, every gesture of kindness, every moment of compassion has an impact that you may never see, but it spreads like waves in a calm lake. And that is the beauty of the path you walk. The certainty that, by transforming yourself, you also transform the world. You realize then that the great secret of life is simplicity. The deeper you get, the clearer it becomes that the essence of existence is in the simplest things: love, silence, presence, acceptance. The spiritual acceleration you experience is not a frantic search for more knowledge or for an elevated state of consciousness. It is, in fact, a return to what has always been present, a return to what is purer and more essential. Everything you sought from outside, all the answers you longed to find, were inside of you from the beginning. This understanding brings an indescribable lightness. Life, which before could seem a series of obstacles and challenges to be overcome, now reveals itself as a harmonious dance, where each step has its own rhythm, its own meaning. No more need to rush, no more need to control everything. You surrender, not to inaction, but to the wisdom that the universe is always working in your favor. Every experience, every person who crosses your path, every challenge you encounter is part of a larger symphony, a symphony that you can now hear and enjoy. At the end of this journey, which in fact has no end, but only new phases of expansion, you realize that everything that was said, everything that was learned, is summarized in a single word: love. Love is the beginning and end of everything. It is what sustains the universe, what guides its actions, what gives meaning to life. And by living from this place of love, you discover that regardless of external circumstances, your life is a divine expression of what is eternal. Then you walk, not in a hurry, but with serenity. You run, not to get faster, but because you are in tune with the rhythm of the divine. You live, not just for yourself, but for the whole, knowing that every step you take is part of a great cosmic dance. And in the end, that is the true acceleration. A return to the essence of who you are, a deep connection with love that permeates everything. Now, you are ready to continue your journey knowing that no matter what happens, you are exactly where you should be, in the perfect flow of life, in the eternal rhythm of the divine.